Welcome back, family, to another episode of Walking in Wisdom. And on this platform, it's everything character building, looking at your attitude, understanding that your attitude dictates your altitude, looking at the spirit of gratitude as we go through life crises, looking at your personality, your disposition, understanding that if you're a man or woman of faith, it's all about adorning fruit of the spirit. And as we consider our fave, Sonia Uche, some say Queen Soso herself, she has certainly made her mark in Nollywood. And as a Nollywood aficionado, as well as a leadership coach, we ascribe to self-leadership. We understand that most of life woes come from our very own decisions. And in life, the journey of life, whether you're going to make a turn for the right or for the left, or go straight, or use the broad road or the narrow road, it all depends on the choices that you make. So ultimately, you have to consider, I submit to you, that whatever we're facing in life, whatever crises that we're going through, understand that it's based, it may be hard to hear, it's based on choices made ultimately. So today we're going to discuss no other than Sonia Uche, One Little Secret Indeed. And before we get into today's discussion, we have to say a little housekeeping. If you have not subscribed to Sonia Uche Television, she's currently at 1.05 million subscribers. Let's continue to push forward, 2 million strong indeed. And if you have not yet subscribed to the newest platform, which is Also Walking in Wisdom, inspired by Sonia Uche herself, based on her concept of when they go high, she indeed will go higher. And if they go low, she indeed will remain high soaring, right? And that's coming a little bit from the former First Lady of the US, Michelle Obama herself. So it's important that we work and live above the fray. If you're an eagle, keep soaring like an eagle. You do not want to come down and play with the chickens. No, we are eagles, and understand that indeed you're fearfully and wonderfully made, regardless of where you are in life. Understand life happens, right? It's all about lifing. And in that journey called life, there are ups and downs. Remember, we spoke about valleys and hills and mountains and leaps. Understand it. Sometimes we have to cross through rivers and valleys. But if you're a man or woman of faith, you know that your Creator is with you. And hence the reason we say we walk by faith and not by sight. So if you have not subscribed to this platform, please be sure to do so if you're a man or woman of faith. If you love Sonia Uche and you agree that she is a woman of wisdom, if you desire to level up and have that wisdom by simply doing the work, change happens only when A, you're intentional, and B, if you do the work, right? We have to not just be hearers of the word, but we must be doers as well. And that comes, again, by having that faith, knowing when you do the work, you will see improvement. And transformation is possible for anyone. We're not talking about perfection, because no one is perfect, but we're talking about fine-tuning our character flaws, so when we meet a person, when we engage across the diaspora, no one is at anyone's throat, because we are doing the work. And it's all about being kind rather than being right. And again, understanding that a good attitude about understanding who you are and whose you are with so let's continue to keep. And having said that, let's go into the storyline. And I certainly want to start with the beginning. They say pretty much like mother, like child. And at times the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Let's listen in a bit.
If that girl thinks she's a craze, I will tell my craze girl. What is your name? I don't understand. Is her name calm down? What will be her name now? Sophia. Today. No. It's not the tongue now. Who's your best today? Please stop whoever for them and I don't understand. So they fool how? What's happened? You want Peter? Eh? Try it now. Try it. If your teeth no wrong, come up for this girl like man, do it because I hear man. I mean, pop there. Come on, there. Pop it like try it now.
Like mother, like daughter, indeed. And Blossom is certainly precious. Oh my goodness, what a talented young lady actress she is indeed. So that was just a little bit in terms of understanding when life stresses happen. We know that children are also impacted, and she had to grow to be tough. She had a little bit of a street life if you look at the movie and understanding when the change came. It takes some time for that toughness, that mental toughness, and sometimes the physical toughness to die down with it. But we all understand the value of self-worth. So to me, this story is about understanding the secret, understanding that what's in the dark comes to light. And when that secret is exposed, it always comes out. It's understanding, depending on the side you're on, always understand your self-worth. You have to assume that path of self-worth if you're considering person of character indeed. So let's get into a little bit of each of the characters. Understand this is about self-worth, a journey to self-worth, regardless of the cards that you're dealt with. And then understanding, we're going to give you the 5 ways how to level up and make adjustments indeed. So let's look at the 5 characters led by Chindera Sonia Uche. She played the character of the mom, Chindera, her daughter Blossom by the name of Onyi. Then we have Mike played by Brian Aqua. And the beautiful, I believe, Precious, she played the role of Yvonne, his fiance. So Chindera was really her primary motivation has always been preservation, self-preservation, thus the preservation of a child. And it's about protecting her child and recovering any lost dignity that she might have lost within her own community, within her village, within that of a family. When clearly, as a single mom, she lost her virginity and no one claimed her. Now, the core conflict is really between her years of sacrifice and the sudden overwhelming shame of her current circumstances back then, and then understanding now what was fueling her aggressive attitude overall and where she is today. And then, of course, the sheer protection, being a lioness, that she is protecting her child from the other villagers indeed. So it's all about for her leadership strength and growth is really seeking deep resilience, right? And understanding her strong maternal instinct, you still have to navigate in a way that is of virtue and it's of strong character. And you would see, because you're going to watch the movie, how as a mother, regardless of what her daughter did, there were also lessons learned, and she taught her several lessons based on a bad habit that she picked up. Now, the character, the daughter, Onyi, a desire for the family unity, of course, that's every child's dream, wanted her mother and her father to be together when she finally identified someone as a father like 13 years later. And there's an internal conflict between her learned behavior and her instinct for moral rightness. Ultimately, she's the one that convinced her mom, let's do the right thing, believe it or not. And her mom listened. If anyone would have said that to the mom, she probably wouldn't pay much attention. But when the child said it, she knew that this was wisdom coming from her child. And wisdom indeed beyond her years, strong moral clarity and the courage to challenge her mom for the sake of dignity and understanding the self-worth that she knows her mother possessed all these years, regardless of the comfort or not. Then you have Mike, played her father, and there was a level of avoidance and I wouldn't say a desire for to be peaceful, but he saw just bringing them back automatically fixes everything and not understanding. And I tell folks, life is about time, talent, and treasure. And if anyone is lost unfairly, that's what you have to make up. Time, talent, and treasure. In this case, it was both treasure, and I would say there's always talent, but definitely time and treasure, right? Compensation for raising the child alone, and definitely time not wasted, but still time devoted to this young person, this little person, and being responsible and being both the mother and the father is very hard while being the breadwinner indeed. That is time. And doing this time day in and day out for years, 13, 14, 15 years, and then sudden, Aladdin appears like a magic wand and expect everything to be okay. It just doesn't happen. And for some reason, when Mike made a decision when he was younger, and we could say, okay, he was younger, so he bolted and left her with the hot potato. Um, just appearing and reappearing and giving them a place to stay does not fix the emotions indeed. So yes, financial responsibility and commitment to giving Onyi a better life and still having her mother there was charitable enough, but it by no way compensates for the treasure and talent, treasure, I'm sorry, and time that Chindera, the mother's character, gave day in and day out. Then lastly, let's consider Yvonne, the beautiful fiance. She loved this young man. And she said in the movie, let your problems be my problems, right? And I was like, ooh, okay. And she was dignified enough to say she did the right thing. She had character. She had a moral compass. She said, okay, if this is your baby mother and your child, I want them to like me and love me. We have to start somewhere. Let's start before the wedding, including extending them an invitation to the wedding. Let's see if that wedding actually happened or not, or whether they accept it or not. You have to watch the movie. But that certainly is extension of an olive branch. So that speaks a lot in terms of her character. And at the end, based on how she responded in Sonia Uche's character, when Sonia Uche realized, okay, this is not who I am. I'm just angry indeed. So let's look at the second part. To me, the movie line for this particular movie, while there were many smart points and funny moments, you have to watch the movie. For me, the movie line that I treasured the most, aside from the young lady displaying a level of aggression and defending her mom, is this when she was on her way out. So let's take a listen. Look at her face.
Oh my God.
Pay attention to the face of both mother and daughter.
See, like I was sure.
You can see it's very hard for her, but a person with character says it anyway. It's not easy, but you have to do it.
See, make I was sure. That was like me.
I wish you a happy married life.
She wanna go. Na go come with it. Yes, of course, of course. I mean, if you're not invited, who is? I know say someone I need my picking the talk. Someone who can invite me. It's no problem. Ah, you also invited. Yes. And I will invite me. Of course. Are you sure? Yes. Okay.
Look at the tears in Blossom eyes.
Semi on anything maybe said unto you. You come on them from your mind. Sometimes for this our life, we go dey do something because of maybe waiting person done to us. But one will come see me put you back. You could come be see the one will come they even they do. It don't pass the one with the person do. I don't see that. I don't think everything will happen. And I see I did too bad. And you not do me anything.
You see that family? You see what reflection does? It causes you to really take a look at a man and a woman in the mirror. That's exactly what this character Chindera is saying. With all the things that transpired, and with the daughter's assistance, she had time to reflect and realize she was wrong. She was woman enough to say she was wrong. She stood up and apologized face to face. You cannot do it either way unless for some reason there's an emergency and you can't do it face to face. She was able to own up to her mistakes and apologize. And the line for this movie is, if everyone does eye for an eye, the whole world will be blind. And that is so deep. That's dropping the mic. And if she was never to do another movie again, in terms of character and wisdom, that line would be it. We're living in a very tumultuous time. And I'm not going to give you any more because I want you to watch the movie to see what exactly transpires. So now we're going to get into 5 leadership strategies to handling the crisis in rethinking of it. You want to always lead with a thought process and stability and not emotion. When you get into your feelings and your emotions is very unstable. As human beings, we have feelings. So do not make a decision based on feelings. Gather your facts and understand who is responsible for what. In this particular case, what transpired between Chindera and Mike happened before Yvonne came into the picture, almost 10, 15 years later. So clearly, she is not the problem. So you have to lead with stability and not emotions. Establish clear, formal boundaries. In this case, it's about co-parenting, and you would see in this movie how he was willing to do so. Define and negotiate financial worth. In this movie, is not so much of an issue because he was very generous. But what if the person had less money? What could a person do? He still is responsible for the financial well-being of his child. So regardless of his worth, something should be coming. You just meet in the middle. If this means you have to continue working as well as a mom to provide for your daughter, do so as well. But that means he has to be able to take care of some child being responsibility, child care responsibilities as well, if you're opting to work and meet in the middle. Embrace Yvonne's generosity as collaboration. I'm inviting them to the wedding. And she said, "Are you sure you want to invite me?" And she said, "Yes." So Yvonne is certainly a woman of virtue, though she had emotions in this movie. Anyone would to find out that a baby mama appeared with the baby years later, right? So at the end of the day, she did the best that she can, and she was very open to having um, um, the co-parenting and felt confident that Brian, or in this case, Mike, the character, loved her. And use dignity as currency. We've spoken many times before the importance of relational currency and building relationships, forging relationships. And it starts within your own network, meaning at home, your spouse, your brothers and sisters, your parents, your cousins, and fanning out to extended families, communities, etc., and then throughout the diaspora. So that's very important as you consider your dignity because your self-worth is indeed very important. Let's consider some characters and some biblical precepts before we get into 5 strategies for moving forward indeed. And for me, I would say when tough time comes, and we're speaking about crisis, when tough time comes, you want to know that He will be with you always through the rivers, through the valleys, through the mountains. Do not feel overwhelmed. It's part of human nature, but this is where your faith, a man or woman of faith, comes in. And for me personally, I love what it says in Peter. Let's go down here a little bit so I can show you what it says in Peter. Give me a second. My apologies. If you could bring it down a little bit, here we go. It says 1 Peter 5:10, and after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And I say, what a promise indeed. Restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And of course, that would mean your picnic as well. So you and your family, you must be gracious and you must be indeed repentant. Let's look at the end of this movie and see how it she finishes up her apology.
You don't know me from anywhere. Huh? So I beg you, just forgive me. All the wrong things why I don't do you, the ones why I don't use my mouth talk, the ones why I don't act. I beg you. Okay? It's fine. Chidera. I'm sorry. Mama. Onyi. It's fine. I mean, if I were in your shoes, I would have probably done worse.
And that is a beautiful thing, and this is what it means to be a true sister. First of all, you saw an example of real apology, asking for forgiveness and repentance, looking at a person eye to eye, face to face, and not just saying, I'm sorry, and moving away. Highlight why you're sorry, the reasons, highlight the wrong that you did, and say, I'm sorry after each wrong. Look the person in the face. And again, if by chance distance is an issue, video call. Okay, worst case scenario, phone call, but you must say, we're sorry. And Sonia Uche is such a talented actress. I can tell from her voice, the tremble of her voice, the word in the eyes of Onyi, her daughter, and the way she was speaking, her facial gestures really show perfect remorse. And then the character of this young lady, the fiance, Yvonne, played by Precious, she said, I understand if I were in your shoe, I would have done the exact same thing or worse. Making amends is so important indeed. And that's why Sonia Uche continues to be one of the queens, one of the top individuals in terms of character and telling and giving out perfect lessons indeed. So let's get into 5 strategies for moving forward. Reclaiming your worth, reclaiming your self-worth, reclaiming your value, because indeed you're fearfully and wonderfully made indeed. So for one little secret, 5 strategies for moving forward. Number 1, acknowledge the grief of the past and release the whole. Number 2, redefine mention as internal security. The strategy to move into the master suite stemmed from equating luxury with success. So she must redefine success as unused stable education, her own flourishing business, and of course, emotional peace. And for me, the final part also is understanding that she's not that wicked person, an eye for an eye. That's not who she is. She became that when she saw all these things just transpired in front of her. 13, 14, 15 years of what she would have done if she would have seen him came into one period, all at once crashing. Hence the reason, indeed, it was a crisis. And it was about dealing with her crisis, indeed. So the example of comparing the mansion that he lived in to the apartment or smaller house that he gave her, and he didn't have to, that was her way of trying to manipulate the situation based on her emotions. So you have to move past that. The mansion is by no means your internal security. And you have to be able to master your own business, take control of your life. With an education or not, entrepreneurship is still viable once you have a purpose and a passion, and you have a strong work ethic, and you're able to network and get into the swing of things. The goal here is to start. Don't ask who, what, when, why, how. Most entrepreneurs would tell you when they started a business, they didn't have most of the information aligned. In the West, we just have about 700,000 Black women alone, women of color or Black women lost their jobs in first and second and third quarter of 2025. Where are these women going? So they have to have a master domain, a plan. And today more than ever, entrepreneurship is the plan. Then you also want to adapt Onyi's moral compass as a younger daughter or her only daughter, believe it or not. Sometimes your children possess the moral compass that you should have. So certainly she did that, because when all else fails, she listened to the voice of reason. And as vocal as her daughter is at that point in time, her daughter Onyi was a voice of reason, and hence she was able to come forward and repent. And the fifth one embraced the power of reconciliation, which I showcased how she did very well. So this movie, as we close out, thank you so much for listening to this particular character analysis where so many different characters, and once again, Sonia Uche knocked it out of the park, showing the different depths. And in this case, she gave the perfect formula: how to repent, how to say I'm sorry, how to really mean it, how to not do it again, and how another gracious woman was able to accept her apology, played by Brian Aqua's character, fiance character of, I believe her name is Precious. So indeed, this concludes another episode of Social Walking in Wisdom. And if you have not, subscribe to Social Walking in Wisdom and become a member of our transformational community looking at character, because you know character matters in the 21st century more than ever, whether it's within your home environment, within your community, your neighborhood, your village, your city, your country. And as we meet online throughout the diaspora, character matters. And it's going to take someone with solid, good character to be the voice of reason when things go awry. So family, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being part of the community. Simply subscribe, hit that like button. Let's drive the algorithm and let the world know that you're going to stand for character and that indeed character matters. It does make a difference indeed. That's all for another episode. And until then, we meet again, family. Shalom.